year 2, week 1, turnovers, track meets, and trouble. Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome back to another DNS address. Week 1 gave us our first user versus user matchup of year 2. Troy made an immediate statement. South Florida participated in a track meet disguised as a football game. Sacramento State secured a major home victory. Texas State quarterbacks threw the ball to Texas A&M more than they threw to their own receivers. And somewhere in Lincoln, Nebraska linebacker Willie Basley is still running with another Northern Illinois interception. Week 1 had points. It had turnovers. It had heartbreak. It had enough interceptions to make every offensive coordinator reconsider the forward pass. Let's get into it. Our headline of the week is Troy dominates the first user matchup. Arkansas State traveled to Troy for the first user versus user matchup of game 2 or of year 2. Both programs entered 0-1. Both needed a response. Only one delivered. Troy defeats Arkansas State 49-21. Rodge Waldrop completed 8 of 10 passes for 181 yards and 4 touchdowns. 8 completions, 4 touchdowns. That means half of his passes ended up in the end zone. Efficiency was the key. Roche carried the football 23 times for 172 yards and 2 touchdowns. Griffin added 148 yards and another score on only 10 carries. Troy's 2 primary running backs combined for 320 rushing yards. At that point, Arkansas State was not defeating a rushing attack. It was attempting to survive a stampede. Jywon Boyd caught 3 passes for 133 yards and 3 touchdowns. 3 catches, 3 touchdowns. Again, efficiency. Greg Vincent added a sack and interception for the Troy defense. Arkansas State quarterback Owen Blunt produced 317 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. Tyler Little recorded 114 receiving yards and a score. Trevor Hatchett caught 10 passes for 101 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Red Wolves moved the football through the air, but 3 interceptions and a non-existent run game made the comeback impossible. Troy improves to 1-1. Arkansas State falls to 0-2, but Coach Burnett claims the first user victory of year 2. Next week, Troy travels to number 7 to Miami. Arkansas State travels to Northern Illinois for another user matchup. One team's chasing a ranked road victory, the others entering an early season survival game. South Florida loses in the shootout. Number 19, South Florida traveled to number 22, Louisville. And apparently both defensive coordinators agreed to have the weekend off. Louisville wins 56-49. South Florida's quarterback, Buren Jr., threw for 343 and 4 touchdowns. Shelton Sampson Jr. caught 9 passes for 82 yards and 3 scores. And Joe Jackson delivered the best offensive performance of week 1. 16 carries, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns. That is more than 16 yards per carry, folks. Joe Jackson did not run through Louisville's defense. He teleported past it. His performance earned him the National Offensive Player of the Week as well. South Florida scored 49 points, produced 7 offensive touchdowns, and still lost. That is the type of game where the offense walks into the locker room and asks exactly how many points were we supposed to score. The defense recorded a sack and an interception and never found a way to slow Louisville's consistency. The most damaging moment came when Louisville linebacker Cameron White recovered a fumble and returned it 56 yards for a touchdown. In a 7-point game, a defensive touchdown becomes the difference. South Florida falls to 1-1 and enters a bye week next week. The offense looked dangerous. The defense now has 2 weeks to remember that tackling is a part of football. Interceptions. The motion picture. Northern Illinois at Nebraska. Northern Illinois enters Lincoln looking for an early season statement. Nebraska responds with 59 points and a defensive highlight reel. Nebraska wins 59-10. Brown completed 16 of 30 passes for 159 yards. He threw 4 interceptions, and he was sacked 5 times. Nebraska linebacker Willie Basley intercepted 3 passes himself One was returned for a 100-yard touchdown. Basley also earned the National Defensive Player of the Week. At one point, Northern Illinois may consider listing him as an intended receiver. May helped. Elijah Porter provided the brightest offensive moment for the Huskies with 76 rushing yards and a touchdown. Caleb Hack caught 6 passes for 57 yards. Dedrick Freeman recorded 11 tackles, and 5 sacks and 4 interceptions left Northern Illinois with almost no opportunity to compete. The Huskies fall to 0-1 and now host Arkansas State. 2 programs enter the user matchup, still searching for the first victory. We'll discuss that emotional support later. 6 interceptions, 3 points. Texas A&M crushes Texas State. Number 8 Texas A&M defeats Texas State 40-3. Shakur Rising completed 6 of 21 passes for 70 yards. Threw 4 interceptions. Jamison Hurt completed 3 of 8 passes for 29 yards. He threw 2 interceptions. 6 passes complete to Texas State players, and 6 completed to Texas A&M defenders. Perfectly balanced. Just not in the way that Coach Dilla wanted. Cole Pryor rushed for 66 yards, but Texas State never established enough offensive rhythm to threaten the Aggies. The Bobcats fall to 0-1. Traveling to Old Dominion next week for a user versus user matchup. The first priority is going to be obvious. Throw the football to the players wearing the same uniform. Everything else comes afterwards. We have a 1-point pain in Starksville. Missouri State stuns Mississippi State. Mississippi State entered its opener looking for some momentum and to just establish. Instead, Missouri State escapes with a 1-point victory. Missouri State wins 31-30. Max Coolidge threw for 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Paris Hurd Davis, PhD, carried the offense with 24 rushes for 179 yards and a touchdown. Mississippi State's defense recorded 3 sacks. Jalen Smith also produced the rarest possible pick 6, a 0-yard interception returned for a touchdown. No running required. Right place, right time, maximum effort. But Mississippi State still finished 1 point short. The Bulldogs fall to 0-1, travel to Army next week. This is not exactly the opponent you request when trying to recover from an emotional 1-point loss. Sacramento State grinds out a win. Sacramento State welcomed Vanderbilt to town and earned one of the biggest victories of the week. The Hornets win 14-10. It was not a quarterback showcase. McKinney completed his only pass for 6 yards, and Babcock completed 13 of 24 for 111 and 1 interception. Sacramento State won this game on the ground. Rainey carried the football 9 times for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. 9 carries, 100 yards. Both Sacramento State touchdowns. Golly added a 49-yard rushing game. Moses led the receivers with 43 yards. The defense recorded 2 sacks and held Vanderbilt to 10 points. It was not flashy. It was not explosive. It was not getting into the offensive coaching clinic, but it was a win. Sacramento State starts year 2, 1-0, travels to North Dakota State next week. Coach Mullins may not care how it looked. The standings do not award style points. Our stock-ups this week, Troy's backfield, Roche and Griffin combined for 320 and 3 touchdowns. Troy's rushing attacks is officially terrifying again. Joe Jackson, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, National Offensive Player of the Week. South Florida may have lost, but Joe Jackson's stock went through the roof. And Sacramento State, a win over Vandy, a physical running performance, and a defense that only allowed 10 points. This is an excellent start to year 2. Our need more film of the week. Texas State's quarterbacks. 9 total completions. 6 interceptions. The film review may need to begin with identifying jersey colors. Arkansas State's defense, they allowed Troy to rush for 320 with 2 players. The Red Wolves now face Northern Illinois that is in a game that can't be afforded to lose. And South Florida's defense 49 points should win a football game. That's the entire note. Our week 1 awards, our offensive player of the week was halfback Joe Jackson from South Florida. 16 carries, 261 yards, 3 touchdowns, National Offensive Player of the Week. There's no other choice. Our defensive player of the week is the strong safety Greg Vincent from Troy. 4 tackles, 1 of those for a loss, 1 sack, 1 interception. Vincent helped Troy control the first user matchup of year 2. We love it. Our built but not given award this week belongs to the Hornets. Sacramento State did not win the explosive passing numbers. The Hornets did not fill the stat sheet. They did not need to. They ran the football, played defense, controlled the moments that mattered, and defeated Vanderbilt. Sometimes winning is not about creating the prettiest performance. It's about finding a way. Coach Mullins and Sacramento State found one. The victory was built. It was not given. Our bye week report, Georgia Southern, Old Dominion, Georgia Tech, and Central Michigan were all on a bye week this week. And considering how many interceptions were thrown across the rest of the dynasty, taking the week off may have been the safest offensive strategy available. All 4 programs return next week. The schedule does not look friendly. Our week 2 user matchups, Arkansas State at Northern Illinois. Somebody's going to get their first win of year 2. Arkansas State and Northern Illinois enter 0-2 and 0-1. Arkansas State has thrown 7 interceptions through 2 games. Northern Illinois threw 4 against Nebraska. This matchup may be decided by whatever quarterback remembers the football is not a community possession. Can Arkansas State build on its 317 passing yards against Troy? Can Northern Illinois protect Brown after allowing 5 sacks? One coach leaves with relief. The other leaves with much longer film session to come. Texas State at Old Dominion. Old Dominion makes year 2 debut after a bye. I think they actually had 2. The defending Sun Belt champions host a Texas State team coming off a 40-3 loss. Texas State needs an immediate offensive reset. Old Dominion enters with fresh legs, a championship standard, and the benefit of watching Texas State throw 6 interceptions. Coach Dilla must stabilize the quarterback position. Coach Crow will look to begin the defense of his conference crown with a user victory. Around the league for week 2, Georgia Southern travels to number 12 Kansas State. The Eagles dominated Houston in week 0 and now receive their first major ranked test. Troy travels to number 7 Miami. The Trojans found their offense against Arkansas State. Now they must prove it travels well against a top 10 opponent. Number 24, Georgia Tech travels to Tennessee. The Yellow Jackets began year 2 with a difficult SEC road game. Central Michigan hosts Michigan State. The Chippewas had a body prepared for this after losing their opener to Wyoming. Mississippi State travels to Army. Sac State travels to North Dakota State. And South Florida takes a much-needed bye. Week 2 will tell us what team is ready to move forward and which teams are in danger of falling behind. Commissioner's picks of the week. Northern Illinois is going to defeat Arkansas State in a game featuring fewer turnovers than expected. This is not a prediction. This is a request, gentlemen. Old Dominion defeats Texas State and opens its title defense with a user victory. Georgia Southern gives Kansas State everything it can handle and leaves with a ranked road win. Troy's offense keeps the game competitive at number 7 Miami. Georgia Tech makes a statement at Tennessee. Central Michigan rebounds against Michigan State. Mississippi State survives Army. And Sacramento State continues this strong start at North Dakota State. Ladies and gentlemen, week 1 gave us the first user victory of year 2. Troy dominated Arkansas State. Joe Jackson rushed for 261 and earned national recognitions. Sacramento State opened with a win over Vandy. South Florida scored 49 and somehow still needed more. Northern Illinois and Texas State combined to throw 10 interceptions, and now 2 user versus user matchups headline week 2. Northern Illinois versus Arkansas State. Texas State at Old Dominion. For some programs, the season is beginning to build the momentum. For others, the panic button is ready to be removed from its protective case. Respond to the loss, build on the victory, protect the football, and please check the jersey colors before throwing the pass. In the Department of Natural Selection, you select, we collect, built, not given.